Condensation slowly rolls down smooth metal walls, while a few candles flicker somewhere around the room. Black bags are piled in the east corner of the room, while a rectangular metal table sits across from them. A dim white light shines upon the table to reveal a blonde-haired man sleeping atop it. A loud crashing sounds somewhere within the room, causing his eyes to lethargically open, squinting at the sudden, burning sensation. Those bloodshot, chocolatey brown eyes wander to the ceiling to see that he does not recognize his surroundings. The man attempts to sit upright on the table, however, something is holding him down. He barely manages to turn his head toward the right due to the leathery strap across his forehead. The man's wild heartbeat can be heard throughout the silent place when he realizes that he can hardly feel anything below the neck. There's something wrong with this situation. It's colder than his bed had felt the previous night. This is not the place that he had fallen asleep in. He opens his mouth to scream. However, the cottony feeling in his throat prevents him from making a sound. Is his throat too dry to cry out for help, or do his vocal cords no longer function? What horrible monster would do this to a person? The clicking sound of high heels on the concrete floor echo throughout the room, not even a moment after the door to the room slams shut. The obnoxious clicking sounds clatter across the floor, only to stop beside the table. The man attempts to make another sound due to the intense amount of fear overwhelming him. His eyes widen upon seeing someone in a white lab coat standing beside him, hands elegantly moving at a rapid speed. He must not have heard the clicking noise stop in front of the table. His hearing must be fading as well. The small figure steps back and turns around to face him. He notices light brown hair resting atop the woman's shoulders, while a pleasant smile spreads across her glossy pink lips. There are no words to describe how he's feeling when the woman reveals a newly stitched, feminine hand attached to his right arm. He tries to cry out for help once more, to ask why the hell this woman would do this to him, yet that persistent, cottony feeling causes him to panic. His breathing gets heavier with each different thought running through his mind. The lab coat flows behind her as she hastily drags another bag into the east corner before reapproaching him. Her olive-colored hand reaches out and runs her fingers through his hair. Her lips part as if she's going to say something, yet she remains silent for the moment. The doctor removes the strap. Her hands carefully slide underneath his head, and she lifts it up to show him what she is rather proud of. Perfect, hand-woven stitches run along the top of both hands, kneecaps, and his ankles, each reattached limb different from the ones he had showered with the night before. His eyes sluggishly wander around the room, taking in every detailed picture of different surgical procedures with very precise instructions of how to and vivid images of where to cut into a body. The man is absolutely petrified when he notices separate piles in the corners of the room, pieces of body parts hanging from hooks in the ceiling. Dismembered carcasses lay in the pile where fresh-colored crimson liquid inches its way toward the mesh-covered drain. Every shape and sized jars, full of different organs, sit on multiple shelves beneath the pictures, and the only assumed thought running through his mind this time is that he's some sort of experiment, like Frankenstein. He just now realized where he is. This room, it's a meat freezer. The doctor gently lays his head back down. He can see the hopeful look in her eyes as she leans in closer. The man makes a decision that he might regret. However, he cannot let her live as a monster. Leaving his hand unstrapped was one of her many mistakes. Whatever had been preventing him from moving has slowly begun to wear off, as he can now feel himself struggling to lift his freshly stitched hand. Girlish fingers loosely grip at the metal handle in the pocket of her lab coat. The sadness behind the forced smile on her face makes him feel guilty about wanting to harm her. She is his wife, after all. I know. You don't understand what's going on, but I'm doing this to save you. There have been so many failed experiments over the past 6 months, too many hours spent searching for a way to ensure you'll live a long, happy life with me, and the only one that seems to have worked is, well, this one. I couldn't think of any other way to save you from the cancer. Replacing organs that were already ruined because of that nasty disease is more like my last hope, Keith. I don't really want it to be this way. I feel bad about killing all those innocent people so that I can save one. Losing you means that I lose a big part of my life, and I don't want to live any kind of life where you're not in it, she explains. Keith hesitantly moves his lips, non-verbally asking her to lean even closer. Her static-riddled hair brushes his nose as her ear rests near his lips. Screw you, Kathy, he harshly chokes. Keith musters up enough strength to lift his arm. A tingling yet painful sensation spread up toward his neck. The scalpel plunges into her throat. He weakly removes the object as she stands there. Blood squirts out of her neck at a surprisingly fast rate. That hopeful look in her widened eyes disappears when his wife stumbles backward due to the shock. Kathy had taken the unsettling news worse than he had, but he never imagined that this was the kind of person his beloved wife would turn into. Watching the light in her eyes fade away makes his next choice that much easier. Keith refuses to live as a horrifying creation of a desperate and deranged woman. The scalpel glides across his neck, causing warm liquid to slide down each side. He can finally die in a way just as terrible as the cancer would have been. This seems much more peaceful to him. Kathy had known the risks she'd be taking when she thought of the many ways to save her special patient, when she came to me and asked for my help. At first, I thought that she was absolutely insane if she thought that I would help her, but the more I thought about what she had proposed, the more I realized just how much I was going to miss my brother once the cancer had finally taken him. Damn. I should have known that this wouldn't end well. I knew my brother wouldn't want to live that way, and much like his wife, I was just as desperate. Kathy and myself were certain that she had succeeded, yet, in the end, she failed. Kathy's, as well as my own, desperate attempts to save Keith didn't matter, because he couldn't handle living with a horrible body when he had already accepted what life had dealt him. I cannot even begin to fathom what thoughts were running through my brother's mind as I watched him from the shadows. And you know what? The only thing I felt during the entire thing was guilt and extreme regret. Guilty for killing all those people to save my brother, even though I knew this isn't what he would have wanted. Regret, because I stood by and watched how this all ended. This truly is a sad ending for two entwined lives, held together by a desperate act of compassion and love for the only family I had left.